What's up, everybody? It's your boy J-Rod. Welcome to the channel. So recently, the United States has issued a level 3 travel warning, warning travelers that if they are traveling to Colombia to stop using dating apps due to the amount of crimes and unfortunate events associated with it. So I'm just gonna read the article and then I'm gonna give my commentary. All right, let's go.
In a notice posted Wednesday, the U.S. Embassy in Bogota says it's aware of 8 suspicious deaths of U.S. citizens in Medellin between November 1st and December 31st, 2023. The deaths appear to involve either involuntary drug and overdoses or a suspected homicide, and the deaths are not believed to be linked to each other, although several involve the use of online dating apps. According to the embassy, criminals use dating apps to lure victims to meet in public places, including hotels, restaurants, and bars, and later assault and rob them. A number of U.S. citizens in Colombia have been drugged, robbed, or killed by their dates. The embassy said with reports of these incidents in major cities including Medellin, Cartagena, and Bogota. These crimes often go underreported, however, as victims may be embarrassed or don't want to go through the judicial process. Most of the 2023 violent victims in Medellin were U.S. citizens. The U.S. Department of State has issued a level 3 travel advisory to Colombia, urging travelers to reconsider travel due to crime and terrorism, and to exercise increased caution due to civil unrest in the country and kidnapping.
All right, so for me personally, I'm not a huge fan of dating apps, but I don't knock people who do it, to each his own. I got a couple of homeboys, like they love using Tinder and all that stuff. Shout out to my homeboy Leo, because I think he just met his wife from Venezuela on there. They finna get married soon, so, congrats to you, bro. But yeah, to me, I just don't really care for the dating apps for a couple of reasons. Number one, most of the people do not be serious on dating apps. Okay, now dating apps, y'all know why people be on dating apps now. It's because they're just hookup apps. So I'll say like 90% of the people on there, they're just not even serious for no real committed relationship. Like, that's just not a place I'll be looking for something like committed. I'm more of a traditional type of person. Like, I like to get to know you face to face first. That's just me. And then number two, half the time you don't really know who you're dealing with. I got some crazy stories about like these dating apps and stuff, but and it's not just like international. Even in America, I don't use like Tinder and all that, and what is it, Tagged, and you got like Latin America, Cuba. I don't do all that shit. Another thing with the dating apps, specifically to Colombia, is that you can sometimes make yourself a target unintentionally, and I think that's what happens to a lot of these dudes that be going out to Colombia is you don't really know who you're dealing with. That's kind of like the downside of dating online or using apps to communicate with people. Even here on YouTube, like, I got a lot of people that I be talking to all the time, and I'm like, some of these people could be serial killers, and I never know. But the thing with Colombia is, and I don't really mean to talk badly on Colombia because I actually do like Colombia a lot, and I do feel like people should travel there because it is a really dope place to visit. But the problem with Colombia is a lot of these women that be on these apps, I'm not gonna say every single one of them, but a lot of them they're kind of working. And I said this in my Colombia's Dangerous video. I talked about how a lot of them, it's like a network and they're cooperating with each other. And 9 times out of 10, you're not the only person that they're talking to on these apps, okay? It's kind of just like let's just see who will take the bait first. And once again, I'm not saying that every Colombian on the app is out to get you or trying to set you up, but I have noticed it has been a huge increase in a lot of these situations that's involving druggings and killings in Colombia. It is associated to people who are meeting these girls on Tinder, okay? So the one thing that I would say when you're traveling is you want to be as low risk as possible. That is the key. And I know sometimes YouTubers, they use this thing, like they say, oh, you got to know how to move in the country. Even myself, I've said this before, like, you got to know how to move. But that's not entirely going to 100% protect you from situations like this, because even for veteran travelers or people who have been experienced in the game and who have traveled to several countries, because it can happen to anybody, regardless of how you move in the country, okay, like, it just does not matter. But the key is being low risk, and what I mean by that is keeping yourself in situations that will prevent you or give you the less likelihood of something to happen. Once again, Colombia to me is just not an ideal place to use dating apps. People do it all the time. Like I told you, I got a lot of homeboys that love using dating apps in Colombia, but it's kind of like a Russian roulette. Like, you really don't know who you're gonna be dealing with. I would try leaning more towards a different country, and I'm not gonna be biased and just be like Dominican Republic, because in Dominican Republic, you have another issue. You deal with gold diggers. So it's like every country has its own little thing. So like Colombia, you deal with the muggins and the druggins. Dominican Republic, you're gonna deal with a lot of gold diggers and people that just be trying to like have a come up and they're not taking you seriously. So like you really can't win no matter what country you go to. Every country is gonna have its issues. But if I had to take my money on being robbed or someone being a gold digger, I would just take someone being a gold digger. Like I ain't trying to, you know, get drugged and or end up on the news somewhere just because, you know, I have my guard down. Another thing too that gets a lot of dudes in trouble on these dating apps is y'all give way too much information to these people. Once again, these people are strangers, so you don't really know these people. Okay, y'all telling them the day that you flying in, you know, what you do for a living, how much money you bring in. You know, it's just like, so you kind of are making yourself a target. And going back to what I was saying earlier, being a low risk, you know, that's not low risk behavior. When you're telling people what day you flying in, what hotel you're gonna be at, okay, how much money you bring in, like doing things like that, you are kind of asking yourself to be set up. On these dating apps, you really don't want to tell anybody any personal information about your travels. I know that seems pretty straightforward or common sense, but you'll be surprised, like people, they'll kind of sneak it in, or if you're talking to somebody and y'all vibing, you know, you just gotta be careful because people ask questions about your life and you just start opening up, sharing information. Next thing you know, like, you know, they plotting on you. So you just want to be very careful with that. I would even do a couple of FaceTime calls, not saying that that's going to prevent anything, but sometimes people be catfishing, people be lying about who they are or even what they look like. So that's another thing that you got to deal with dating. Now, that's just one of the reasons why I just don't really fool with them. Or you can even add them on like their other social media. So if you can get their Facebook or their Instagram, and you can kind of see their other pictures and see how they interact with other people if they post stories or whatever. Like, just to kind of get a feel of who you're dealing with. Because like I said, a lot of these dudes, they let their guards down. And then when they get over there, it's just like they forget everything. And that's the thing, when you go to these countries, especially places like Colombia, like you definitely have to keep your guard up. You can't really just like get infatuated by like the beauty, because yes, it is a lot of beautiful people over there, but at the same time, you're a foreigner, and people, unfortunately, they do prey on foreigners. Like, and that's why I said the majority of the people that got killed in Colombia were U.S. tourists. And when I make these videos, it's not me trying to put fear into people or be like a fear monger and be like, don't travel to da-da-da, because like I told you, Colombia is a dope place. I really love it. But I'll be lying to you or doing a disservice if I don't really tell you like some of the stuff that be happening over there, because I mean, it really can be life or death. Another red flag with dating apps, this is a big one, but if somebody is trying to tell you to go somewhere, and I said this in my Colombia is dangerous video, and then I think I did a video about Latin America being dangerous, or the dangers of Latin America. Okay, this one is huge. That does slip up a lot of people, but if somebody's trying to tell you to go somewhere, like say like, hey, let's meet up at this hotel, okay, that is a huge red flag that somebody is trying to get you to be somewhere so that they can set you up. Once again, I'm not trying to scare people, but I'm just letting you know, like, this is very common where people, they do this a lot in Colombia. They'll say like, hey, come to this hotel, let's meet up at this place. And what I try to tell other travelers is you got to control the narrative. You have to set the pace. So if you do meet somebody, you gotta be like, hey, nah, we gonna meet at this place. You know, you're not gonna tell them, you're not gonna allow them to put you in a situation where you can be vulnerable. If somebody's very adamant about getting you somewhere, or they're telling you, hey, like, let's meet here, or let's go here, and, you know, you're just feeling unsure about the situation, you know, I would definitely take that as a red flag. And I actually spoke about that in one of my Colombia videos. As a story time. There's a club promoter, you know, they were actually trying to get me to go to this after party, and it wasn't even really an after party. Like, they do this thing where they set people up and they'll get you on these buses, and, you know, they'll take you to these random places, and then they'll have somebody come on the bus and take all your stuff, and then you got to pay them to get it back. Like, it's this whole like system. Like, I already told y'all this one story. I was in downtown Cali, Colombia. I was just walking downtown, and some women had approached me, and they obviously knew I wasn't from here, and they ended up coming up to me trying to get me to go to this hotel to hang out. I was like, nah, I'm good. You know, like, I'm not trying to put myself in these type of situations, especially if I'm by myself. You know, now if I'm with some other homies and then we all go together, you know, I feel like that's different. But a lot of times when I travel solo. So, you know, I always be thinking of the worst case scenario. It's just kind of risky to be going places by yourself, especially with multiple people. And especially if they're trying to tell you to go to a hotel, like, that's just a definite no. So when you on these dating apps and people trying to get you to go places, like, that's a big red flag. But yeah, like I said, you just want to stay low risk as possible. Just because you're a veteran traveler, just because you're an OG, it does not mean that bad things can't happen to you. And the sad part part about the things that's happening to these people in Colombia is a lot of these cases are not reported. Like, it's way more situations that's happening over there. But, you know, people, they do be embarrassed, or, you know, they don't want to share what happened to them because, you know, it is kind of embarrassing. Like, you know, you get on the app and then somebody sets you up. You know, it affects people's ego. And that's why I say you just got to be careful. But me personally, you know, I'm more of a traditional dude. You know, if I see somebody and then, you know, the chemistry is there and we link up. Oh, that's another thing, chemistry. You know, you meet people on apps, everything is good. You meet them in person and the chemistry sucks. So like, that's another reason why it's kind of like a guessing game with apps. But I don't knock people who do use the apps. You know, a lot of people use apps. But Colombia is one place I personally do not recommend using the app, okay? They just got a lot of safety issues over there when it comes to that type of stuff. And the majority of these crimes, they do involve people meeting people on Tinder. Just keeping it real. But yeah, that's kind of my commentary on this. Let me guys know what y'all think down below. Do you guys use dating apps, and have y'all had any bad experiences? I want to know all this down below. But don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and thank you for watching. All right, peace.